Moving around the loft, such a great feeling. Elliot's Loft, to be exact. It's a place where when black men talk, gets put together and assembled and gets basically moved out where people can actually give us an air. And when thank you for doing so, we're being heard in many different places, many different cities out the U.S. and many different foreign countries. And some of the places, man, like I might have said before, or I probably said before, I can't truly announce. We've been doing this for quite a while. Us three, myself, Mark Elliott, Mr. DeMaurice, and Mr. Charles. And I've noticed, sometimes I've kind of go around listen to other shows, and there's some shows that may have started after us that's no longer around. I mean, some shows that started before us that's no longer around. And I listened to us a little bit today, and I was happy for many different reasons. But one reason I want to speak of is that we've always hung in there for the most part. It takes something of all three of us to basically find ourselves together once a week to do this for a period of time. When I say period of time, I mean years. I want to thank these two cats for basically hanging in there, being consistent, not walking away, understanding what's going on, and basically being diligent about what we're doing. And from time to time, of course, we don't come on here to agree with each other. From time to time, we may not even like each other, but I would firmly believe that we have a fondness and a respect that we still get together and bring forth when black men talk. I want to touch base on something that's been going on with the March Madness because every year we do the first 40 sports show. We jump on and we do March Madness. For the past 3 years, of course, I'll say it. I've been the champion. And this year I wasn't going to kind of basically roll in, but I kind of got in anyway. Didn't really watch much sports, much college basketball throughout the season. But I'm gonna tell you, man, I had a chance to watch some basketball last night, and I didn't watch much of the tournament. I caught some of the games, but last night, Florida against Auburn and Houston against Duke. I'm gonna tell you something. I don't know when the last time I really watched basketball, pro or college, was that excited and that locked in. Man, that was some good basketball play from top to bottom, plenty of drama. And basically, I picked Florida to win. They're going to be playing Houston tomorrow night in the contest, and if they win at that point, that'll help my score go up. But I'm going to go and concede because I watched Houston last night. And I know Mr. Charles picked them, and I picked Duke to take them down. I'm going to concede to you, bro, because I think that team is basically destiny written all over them. Like some of the commentators said after the game, their will. Because what they did in the second half and what they did in that last minute, let's say 40 seconds, I don't know if some pro teams could beat them. Your response, man.
Man, look, when watching Houston early in the season, bruh, I love defense. I love the way they come at it, and they may not have the biggest dudes, and we don't know how many pros they have on that team, but they just have a will. And I think the defense, along with the offense, goes a long way. And their coach is so fiery and older. I like it. And what I like most importantly is, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Near the end, I'm about to turn this shit off because I was so frustrated with it. Because I'm like, man, if y'all just play the way you can play, you can win the game. And everybody's celebrating Duke, and a lot of America loves Duke, which is fine. But I'm like, I think the difference for me always was between Auburn and Houston. Auburn has the bigger players; they just have the more talented so-called players, but they don't play D. They don't play D like they play Florida, and they didn't. They let Florida shoot open jumpers. Houston was like, man, I think at one time they shot horrible percentage. They made like 6 shots out of 20 something or whatever. But the game was close because they played D, and they are what we said before. DAWD. They dogs, man. They were dogs, and on defense, I love it. And I was talking to somebody watching the game last night when Duke was up one and they put Roberts on the line, and he shoots 65%, bro. And they told me, oh, he gonna miss these free throws. I said, you crazy as hell. That dude is a dog. He gonna hit these two free throws, and he did, man. I just like their will and spirit, man, for real. That's the whole reason why I picked them. The free throws scared the hell out of me, like they do. But I felt last year they lost their guard, got hurt. I thought they could have won it then. And I think this year they just mad and they want to win and they want to do whatever they got to do. And Last night, I'm be honest, thought it was over. I'm not lying to you. I was like, damn, 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 damn. And when I watched it, then I said, say what you want to, but Duke got tight, man, at the end.
Yes,
They
sir.
got tight. They got tight, and no, and I know Cooper Flag is all American and all that, but everybody said, well, one, did he reach over and foul the guy? And I'm like, hell yeah, he did. And secondly, it was like, well, it was a tough shot. I was like, dude, first of all, and I get off of this real quick. When he got the last shot, all you gotta do is watch it. He hooked the dude, clearly hooked him,
Yeah.
so he get open, and
Yep.
he missed. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, man. It's interesting because people are wherever you kind of were before the game, what team you're on, you're gonna kind of make excuses at the end. But I'm gonna tell you, the last 2 minutes, and maybe even before then, you saw the heart went out of Duke players. They got scared. They really got scared. They weren't tested all year. They got scared. They frozen. And in reality, Cooper is a good player. He just haven't had the experience of battling with that type of adversity and that type of defense. Your reaction to it, Mr. DeMaurice, because you've been saying for years, man. You've been saying for years that college basketball beats the NBA hands down. And after really watching, I'm not saying I disagree when you said it in the past, but after watching those two games, man, I can't, like I said, I can't tell you the last time emotionally I was involved with both of them. Like, and just the play itself, man, every play meant something. Every time they came down the court, defensively or offensively, you're locked in, you're paying and paying attention intensively. Your response, boss.
Yeah, the reason why I like college basketball because each game in the season means something, and in the tournament, it's one and done. So the urgency is there. You can see it. You can feel the pressure. You can feel that these teams are fighting. And I've been saying all year long. I think it was one show you missed on our sports show. I was telling on Ice is that Duke really didn't play anybody this year, and the teams they did play, they lost to. They lost to Kentucky, they lost to Kansas, and they lost to Clemson. The ACC was very weak, so I was really surprised they got this far in the tournament because everybody's kind of pushing them up into the top five, but they didn't play anybody, and I think they were, kind of hanging there, everything on Cooper Flag, that he would be the guy that kind of carried that team throughout the tournament, but one guy can't do it. And the way Houston locked down Proctor, that was the most impressive thing. And I'm wondering in Monday's game because Clayton is something special, the point guard for Florida. I don't know if they can lock down Clayton like they locked down Proctor, because Proctor was their guy who could shoot the 3-pointers for Duke, and they knew that. They got the scouting report and they locked him up. Even the last shot in the game, we threw up a Hail Mary, threw it over the backboard. You could tell that he was being pressured all game, and them guys weren't playing. But it should be a good matchup because Florida averages about over 80, 85 points a game, and Houston keeping their opponents to like 58 under 60. And so it should be an interesting game to see how it plays out. But the reason why I picked Florida, because I picked Florida to go all the way, is because they can play at any tempo. They can play you any way you want. And when they need Clayton, Clayton is like, I hate to compare him, but man, he has a lot of Steph Curry in him. I mean, whenever they need something, he delivers. I mean, I've been watching him all year. He delivers, and their front line, they're no slouch on defense either. They're in the top 10 in defense in the country, and that's hard to do when you have over like 300, almost 400 college teams, and you're in the top 10 in defense. I think Houston is top one. So it's going to be exciting. I'm looking forward to it. These are truly, in my opinion, the two best teams in college basketball going at it. And like I said, I've been saying this for years. When March Madness is over, in my opinion, basketball season is over. I watched the NBA this week. We'll talk about it in the sports show later, but it doesn't come in comparison to what college basketball comes down to, and March Madness. It's nothing like it.
I want to come back to you on that point. Before I do, because I want to kind of just hit real quick why we think there's such a big gap between the two, because we know for a fact people are not really tuned in to watch the NBA. They're not excited about it. And I want to kind of see what is the big disparity between the two. But the coach of Houston, man, Sampson, if I'm saying his last name correctly. I got to tip my hat to that, bro, because I've seen over the years, man, that guy brings some good teams to the tournament, and for whatever reason, they just couldn't get the championship game, man. And that had to hurt. You know, you look at his illustrious career of coaching at other places, how he kind of came along, and that had to hurt. But man, after the game, the way he stood there and said, "Hey, man, don't sleep on Houston," you know, and that's something else too, because that perseverance, man, that this man displayed all that time, not getting there, but kept fighting, kept fighting, kept fighting. And sometimes we don't get there quickly. We give up fighting, bro. We put our gloves down and act like, you know, it's all over. And that's the thing to me about sports, man, that now I think is missing. We miss some of the stories that translate into life, how it basically resonate and can resonate into daily life. We miss a lot of that, man, because we're paying attention to who's doing this, who's that, whatever the case may be, and we miss out on some of the humanistic things that goes on in sports that transfer that we can learn from. Because again, this cat came close, I think about 4 or 5 times and never waver his faith every year. He's back, he's trying again, and he's at it. And to me, that's a lesson to be learned. But as you said, Mrs. Maurice, as when this tournament is over, you know, you lose interest and you're not really there for the NBA. And you're not alone. You're not alone. I may peak, but it just doesn't bring the same feeling. So why is it that the college gets that attention and gets that out of us where the NBA used to but no longer does?
If you see those players win or lose, they care. They care. They're going out there giving their maximum effort. They want to win. They care. And if they care, we care. The NBA players don't really care. They don't really care if they play. They get like a scratch or a boo boo and they can't play. They're not putting their full effort in there. They're not playing defense. And I'll agree with Charles when he says on the show he's ice. He says, you know, the only time the NBA is really kind of good is during the playoff season when they care about winning a championship or they care about, you know, how much money they're going to make the longer they stay in the playoffs. But or winning a championship, you know, with a particular team or a particular player. But you can feel that the players care. I mean, they're crying after games. They do the press conferences. They, you know, you could feel your heart goes out to some of them. You know, your heart goes out like the championship game today, UConn and in South Carolina. Your heart goes out to those young ladies who went undefeated last year, came back, and the way they lost. And your heart goes out to the losers and the winners and everybody that's involved. So they care. And when we feel that the athletes care, then it gives us, you know, the opportunity to care and get involved and get into the stories, get into the drama, and March Madness is full of drama. It's full of drama. It's better than any movie I've ever seen, to be honest with you.
Yeah, we relate to it, man. We relate to the emotions and the feelings because I was saying to Mr. Charles earlier, I had to turn off. I didn't watch much of the UConn South Carolina women's basketball game today. When I turned on, UConn I think was up by 18. I watched a little bit, and they were taking it to South Carolina, and they panned to Dawn Staley, and it seemed like she wanted to cry, bro. Like if she wasn't crying, she was on the verge. And I was like, I can't watch this. I mean, congratulations to UConn women, but I can't watch it. I just could not sit there and watch them basically be dismantled where they were getting dismantled and see what she was going through and what she probably was feeling. I couldn't take it. Mr. Charles, yeah, same question for you, man, because there is a big difference. Again, we lock in emotionally to college basketball the way we do not lock into the pros. The reasons behind it, sir.
Yeah. First of all, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we're good. You're good.
Cool. Yeah, I think the difference is when you, as it was said, mentioned before about particularly with pro basketball, that we know that they're getting paid. Therefore, we have a problem with it. And these kids, even though some of them are now dealing with getting the NIL money and things like that, they're still giving their all. And they work real hard for the coaches. They work for all for the programs, and they work hard that way. Therefore, they're really invested. I've always said before in the past when it comes to the NBA or some other things, it's like another game. And when you look at this season, when you get down to it, you're one and done. And one and done is hard, man. One and done. You know, when you got to have a series and you play three, best out of three, best out of five, or best out of seven, you had time to recoup, and they don't. So when it's over, it's over, and you just watch. I mean, as much as even though I was pulling for Houston, you know, Duke has won what won 17 straight games, or Houston won 18, something like that. So you go that long, and everybody's excited. You got one of the top players and like some of the best freshmen in the country, and everybody's with you, and you make that run. It's hard when it's in the end. You can just see all the emotion, you know, and it's hard because you want them to just come in and give you a natural response. But I think it literally comes down to these kids putting all that they have into it, and they're all in. It's not about the money. I mean, and the money's nice now, but it's not about. It's all about the money. You know, their hearts are there. When we all, and I'll say this lastly, that I think from a professional level, we tend to ask the question: do these professionals really care?
Yeah, I don't think a lot of them do, man. Not like they used to. I don't think they take it personal. I don't think they win or lose. It doesn't really matter. I think off the court stuff has really kind of overshadowed the way they care about the sport itself. And I think once they get there, and, you know, they're human. Once they get those big contracts, you probably relax some. Not some, you probably relax a lot, and it shows in other areas. Gentlemen, I want to bring this episode to something that we may have been indulged in from time to time. And it's kind of part of, it's been sold to us in a sense, it's part of masculinity. And it really isn't. But if you think about it, if you go back to being a young male, if you kind of really pay attention to movies, you pay attention to commercials, you pay attention to celebrations, just a lot of different things that kind of put forth to the young, innocent mind of a man or young boy, alcohol is something that basically, you know, is out there like, yeah, there's something great about it. There's something, you know, awesome about it. It's so good. And it's like sometimes, you know, when you're young, you can't wait to get that taste and feel that feeling. And, you know, we all kind of may have went through that. So I wanted to kind of delve into that just a little bit because alcohol means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. And there's four type of alcoholic drinkers. We don't think we kind of characterize them and think about that too much, but there's a social drinking, there's drinking to conform, there's drinking to enhance, and there's drinking to cope. And more than likely, if you're, you know, drinking some alcohol, you're going to fall into one of those type of drinkers in a sense. Now, social drinking, for the most part, doesn't disrupt your life. You know, it doesn't really create any personal or mental problems or physical problems for that matter. But sometimes when you move it past that, you know, I understand the drinking to enhance, but I think there's a lot of folks in this country and around the world for that matter are drinking to cope. And I remember years ago I was visiting Dallas, Texas, and when I was there in my hotel room, had the TV on, the news came on, and to me I thought this was disturbing. They said that they basically did a survey in Texas, and it might have just been the Dallas area, where women were out buying and drinking more liquor than men. So my thought process behind that, Mr. Charles, was we're not, when you look at the physicality of a man and woman, we're not built the same. I'm not saying men are built to basically, you know, built inferior than women, but we are stronger. Our bodies can endure more. So if you think of the woman's physical trait, I don't think she's built. I'm not even going to say think. I know she's not built to be out drinking a man. And if you think about a region where they're drinking more, purchasing more, and drinking more than men, how does that resonate with you?
Well, it's really sad, I think, but I think the world has changed quite a bit. You have a lot of women now who are very independent. They're making their own money. They have other issues that are coming along. Too, when you mentioned about liquor, I do know that there are a lot of women that do drink wine as well. And what people don't understand about wine, the way when it's consumed. Particularly for certain people, it can get you drunker quicker. So it affects people differently. People don't know that, but think, oh, I'm just drinking a little wine. Now, wine is very potent and very powerful. But I think the way that the world has changed and the society that we live in, women are handling different more problems. There's more stress, and there might be more depression because if let's say it's a woman that really wants to be married, she wants a maid, and for whatever reason that's not coming to fruition or her life's not the way she wants it, she may turn to the bottle because the bottle, it doesn't fight back, it doesn't hit, it doesn't take her through a lot of emotional pain, but it does dull her pain. And I think that's where a lot of people don't understand about what alcohol does.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there, man. And it's sad. You think about it. That's sad. For me, I'm not saying men are drinking more. I'm happier. But as a woman, Mr. DeMaurice, to think that they're out drinking, Mr. Charles gave a lot of good reasons what could be behind it. But I don't think that we wake up as a society and think that women are out drinking men. And I don't even think we give it thought. But if I think we were to think about it and sit down and ponder it some, we're not thinking that. Your response to it, sir.
Well, I've met a few women who could outdrink any dude that I know, including myself. So I'm not kind of surprised about this at all. And like Mr. Charles just said, women are feel they're more independent now and that they can control some things. But now it explains a lot of the mistakes that's made in relationships and pregnancies and all that other stuff. Why that's happening and why so many broken homes. But um, it really this really kind of hit me. I didn't know the statistics, but kind of when you start saying this, I kind of thought about how from time to time I do bartending, and usually the functions that in the bars or at a party or at a stadium, it's more women buying alcohol, beer, cocktails, things of that sort than men. Men will sit there with a beer or two, and of course men we drink. We do drink, but it's more so women who you really have to watch and making sure that they're not overdoing it, making sure they get home safe, making sure they're not being taken advantage of. Because when they go out with in the girls' night or whatever, I'm gonna add another category to your four types. The fifth is drinking to get drunk. I've seen a lot of women just drink because they just want to forget everything, escape reality, and get drunk and not remember what they did or not take responsibility of what they did when they were drunk. So yeah, it just took me back to when I do bartending and at these events or at a bar or a club or something like that. It's a lot of women. They'll just keep coming and coming. And I'll tell you the profession. One of the professions is the nursing profession. I've done several functions for medical um, facilities and groups. And yeah, of course, the doctors would drink, but the nurses, I had one nurse gave me a bunch of money and was like, just keep them coming. Every time I walk by this table, just put a drink in my hand. And I'm like, whoa. So maybe that's their way to cope with what they're seeing on a day-to-day basis. Some of the most horrific things that we probably not even aware of, they're seeing in hospitals, and this is their way to escape.
Yeah, okay. What can I say, man? If I give these two gentlemen the opportunity to respond to something and see exactly how they handle it, yeah, how they handle it. Gentlemen, I want to move it in a different direction because if I'm correct, we all were raised by men that like to taste from time to time. Well, they love to taste and they participated in the taste. But I wonder if we ever took time to understand why they might have been participating in the taste. Now, one thing I will say before I come to two gentlemen to respond, I will say that our fathers grew up in a time where they didn't have some of the liberties that we have right now as black men. They really didn't. And I want to start with that first because they had to basically respond and live a certain way that we really know nothing about. Nothing about. So put that right there and let that be the foundation. But if I was to ask you, Mr. Maurice, why is it that you think maybe other reasons that your father basically found, pleasure or comfort in drinking liquor?
I've had the opportunity to talk to my father about this because he's recovering ever since 1989. And every November I celebrate another birthday for him. We always say happy birthday twice to him a year. And one of the reasons was to escape all the problems. It was an escape for him. It was something that made him feel better. But what he would say when he would sober up, the problems would get even worse. So then it kind of pushed him to drink a little bit more to get away from what he was feeling. The other is dreams deferred, man. Folks have dreams and what they thought their life was going to be like, and when the dreams are deferred, then how do you deal with that? And how do you escape from not accomplishing some of the things you thought you were headed to accomplish? So you wake up. It's like that song by the Talking Heads, "Once in a Lifetime," where all of a sudden the guy in the song wakes up and is like, "This is not my beautiful house. This is not my beautiful wife. How did I get here?" And so
Hmm.
you live through life and you find yourself in certain situations and certain places where you go, "Wait a minute, I was supposed to do this. How did I get to this particular point?" So those were the two things that when we talk about it, those were the two things that kind of stood out for me. That even though he's happy with his life and, has no regrets, is that at that moment, at that time, going to the military and, I don't think my father drunk before he went to the military, but after, I don't know what he saw, what he experienced, but when he came back, that was something that he did. And it was part of the culture in the 60s and 70s where, you work all week and you reward yourself with Friday nights, playing some music, shaking it up a little bit and having a few drinks to get through another week. And so sometimes it spins into something that is totally detrimental.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. You covered a lot there, man. You covered a lot, and yeah, you covered a lot, Mr. Charles. Um, Same question, man. Because as I said earlier, our fathers, they came up at a time where they had stuff to deal with. And what I've noticed about men back then, a lot of them never complained. They might have said some things, and at certain situations, you hear them speak and come out and say, but on general, the complaining on a daily basis, nah, they just woke up and dealt and did what they did. So if you had to take a gander, man, take a thought to why your pops might have basically turned to liquor from time to time, what would you think it'd be?
I think for me it was a little different because it was different stages, man. For my dad, I think my father, when I can remember early on, I really don't remember my father drinking. Being straight up with you, and I think because of what had happened with our lives and losing my mom early and him trying to be a stand-up dad, and also I think the women that he met, because at some point he was meeting more what we might call we the label. I don't want to label it, but I'm gonna label it church women, women that were more into the church, and therefore he wasn't a drinker. Really, I mean, he was almost like that deacon. You're like, oh, he goes, he's trying to raise his family, try to do what he did and whatnot. And then I think over time, periodically, my father through a number of situations with different marriages or failed marriages and things like that. Plus, two, I think my dad started to really, really drink more, or I knew him to drink when I became more or less like a teenager. And I think his health was changing. And with his health changing, he wasn't the guy he used to be. He wasn't as strong as he was. He had issues with his health. Then he started to um, partake more in alcohol. And two, the way it was, he was meeting different kind of women. Women were a little different. So they weren't those church women anymore. He was a little bit out in the streets, bro. out there doing some things in the street as far as meeting different women who drank, and he started to indulge with them, and I think that changed, and just something just about it, man. I don't know what it was. I think I told DeMarista before. I think his life changed, and I will say this too. There's a point. My dad went through a lot, and I'm not gonna get too much into it deep right now, but he went through a lot, and I think some of it started to really weigh on him, where he started to review what was going on, and I'm not sure if he thought about his time on this earth, but it was easier for him to indulge. I mean, literally, there was like a point, and it wasn't a long point, but it's long enough where he just said, you know what, psh, man, whatever. And it was just every day, every day, and until he got to a point where he almost died. And then that's a whole nother story. But it was just, you could just tell that was his coping mechanism, man. He would go into his, what I call his cave, get his drink on, and because he got sick, and then he went on disability, and a lot of mess happened to him. But I think him not being the man that he was able to be before, and I think he got tired, man, because my dad raised me since I was 4, and raised me pretty much by himself. But truthfully, I think he got tired too, because he couldn't do what was doing before. He got tired, and he's like, "Well, hell, I taught you what I need to teach you. Not saying you on your own now, but you're gonna be all right. So I'm gonna take a little break," and that's what he did. I was like, "Damn, I thought you was gonna let me wait till I was 21 to take the test." And like, "Nah, bro, you got the lessons become real now." So I think everybody's different, though. To get back to the point, I think it depends on the individual. I think it depends on what they go through, and we as men, or men in general, especially back then, bro, hell in the handbasket. You had to put real work in. One too many men that I knew back then, Anderson, and nothing, do not disrespect any occupations. But one too many men answering no damn phones and making copies. I mean, you was in there, you was putting in real work. A lot of blue collar workers doing hard work, man. Hard work, even if it was moving in blocks of ice. It was grown men work back then, and they come in there every day, facing elements, whatever things may happen, and then to come back to deal with how to take care of your family and deal with that, and then not get maybe perhaps the recognition or the appreciation. Hey, it's easy to pick up a bottle, in my opinion.
Yeah. I want to thank you too, man. Really, because you took a question that, I'm not saying was hard, but it's a question that really kind of makes you think, and it gives you, not saying we didn't have it prior before, but it shows a level of understanding. Because a lot of times, man, people look at their parents and they don't accept their parents for who they were, what they did. Their parents might have done some things they're not proud of or happy with, and they focus more on that instead of trying to understand who they were, why they did some of the things they did, and what could have brought them to those things, and have more compassion towards that. So I thank you too for basically, I mean, it's nothing new, bringing it and bring it the way it need to be brought, and not being afraid to open up and share. I appreciate it. It's interesting because I look at my father, and my father did his best to hide the fact that he was drinking. He just he didn't believe in drinking in front of us. So my father basically drinks CC, Canadian Club. I realized that was when I got older. But my father had he was one of those high type of drinkers, and he would basically, it was a closet in his bedroom that he had like a suit jacket, and he would put the bottle inside the suit jacket, and throughout the course of the day, go to that closet, open that bottle up, and take a swig. And that's how my father basically got his taste. I think he grew up in a time where he had a few brothers, and they were all kind of close in age. I think for them, as Charles said, they went out and did various type of different work when they were younger, and that was a way of kind of like relaxing, letting their hair down for the most part. Kind of basically, when work is done, you find something, you kind of maybe take the edge off of the case may be. My father wasn't one to basically go to bars and drink, to the best of my knowledge. Most of his drink was basically done at home. I think through life as he started to age, um, I think things he admired and had what he had. But I'll focus on something you said, Mr. Reese. He may have thought maybe his life would have been a little different. He might have thought things could have been different, even in his marriage per se. And looking at that for what it was, he probably thought, it may not be exactly how I want it, but I'm here. This will bring me some comfort in doing what I had to basically do and handle what I have to handle. And it was never, I can't say, and there's probably were times that he might have been intoxicated, but I've never saw my father drunk. I can't say drunk. I know one thing. He would basically, if he, after a little drinking, that's, the conversations between him and my mother, I guess to argue with her, whatever. He needed something, so that might have been a little pick me up too. But never to the point where he was belligerent, that type of alcohol, where he was just totally outside of himself. I'm not gonna say it was all social, but it was definitely more so of that. And I think that was just his way of kind of basically one, working, getting up on a daily basis and doing what he had to do to provide for his family. It became an outlet. It was an outlet that he just chose to have, and basically kind of rolled into it. As he aged, um, and health things started to really start to creep upon him, I noticed he moved away from it. He did move away from basically drinking, and he didn't want to basically touch it at all. And like I spoke earlier, most of his brothers, even as they age, they tend to, some of them as they age, they tend to pick it up even more, for different reasons, but they picked it up more. But I know it was with him as he started to age, he kind of pulled away from it and basically kind of put it down. And an interesting thing, we talk about coping in a sense, or we brought up the word coping, drinking to cope, because a lot of times, we're chasing, if we're doing such, we're chasing demons away. We're using alcohol to basically run demons away. And I think I heard you say, Mr. Reese, like your father said, when he sobered up, he realized it was even worse. And that's the ironic thing about drinking when you're drinking to basically cope and kind of deal because you're feeling good for the moment. And I know I'm gonna say this, Mr. Reese, it probably bring back some memories for you. But we had an Uncle Andrew,
Hmm.
and Uncle Andrew, man, I just it's ironic. I remember being young with him and everything, and watched him how he aged in life. And Uncle Andrew wasn't, when he was younger, he wasn't much of a drinker, but as he aged, he just really, oh man, that was his way of coping. I mean, because he had a lot to basically look back on of his life that things weren't happy about, and he was drinking. So it got to the point. I would see, he got to the point he was one of those out there and be begging for money just to basically get his bottle of vodka. So my thing to him, I said, Unc, I'm not going to be giving you money, man, just to drink. I'm not, So he respected it. He said, hi, Mark, hi, Mark, hi, Mark. So whenever I ran into him out there, he would just, we'll have our conversations, talking. He wouldn't ask. He stopped asking, and I respect that. And I said to myself, I know why I'm choosing not to give him because I'm trying not to basically have him drink, but I gotta keep in mind why he might be drinking.
Yeah.
And when I thought about that, I started giving him money, man. I started
Yeah.
giving him money when I saw him out there because even he was when he was that way, when he felt that when he was drinking, he was away from what he was doing. And realistically, I'm not saying he wasn't damaging his body and his mind by drinking, but that's when he was his happiest. And he drunk, I think it was Duba or something, which was what, $4 or $5 bottle for the most part. So for me to help him get that and get some food, I was like, man, that's your uncle, man.
Yeah.
That's your uncle. And I started basically, when I saw him, I ran into him. And I tell you, the amazing thing about Uncle Andrew, I don't care how much that brother drink, his mind was sharp, man. He started asking you questions about stuff. You'd be like, how you remember that? I don't remember that. He'd be popping on stuff. And you're looking at him like, but the mind was sharp. It was just something about him. But I want to jump into some things about alcohol in the sense that we don't tend to think about. But alcohol basically is a depressant, and it leads to negative effects on the brain. You know, a way it basically delay some problems that's could be going on in your brain later on in life. And ironically, a lot of times, you know, they'll say, "Don't drink," whatever the case may be. Don't do that, but they don't kind of tell you why. And for the most part, it affects our central nervous system, and it starts to slow down messages from your brain to your body. Think about that for a second. It really starts to play around with the way God has composed your body to work. It starts to slow down the message from your brain to get to your body, to your functions of your body. And if you're doing that for a period of time, that's not going to be positive. There's no way that's going to turn out positive for your health. And it's sad that for the folks that are drinking to cope, you know, that's the price they pay. But I look at our society now, gentlemen. We have, you know, people think it's great just to get turned up. You know, turned up, I'm lit, whatever. And it's a Marvel thing. And that to me, I get it for the young heads that doesn't really know too much and they're trying to learn life and understand. I get that, but I don't. And maybe it's not for me to get a totally, you know, not my thing. But I don't get the 40s, 50s, and 60s getting turned up for basically no reason. And I want to come to you first with that, Mr. DeMaurice, kind of get your thoughts on it because you know we out here for the most part partying like it's 1999 and it's not. It's 2025. Your reaction?
I think folks don't really accept the concept of, in moderation. Like I said, some people like to just go out there and drink just to get drunk. It was when I started thinking about Uncle Andrew, the field I work in, we find a lot of people who deal with mental health, especially people of color. They do it through drugs. They don't do it through medication. They do it through drinking, cocaine, weed, whatever. Maybe they're schizophrenic. Maybe they're having some mental issues. Instead of going and getting the proper help, they would rather just drink it away in a bottle. I heard one guy told me, he's like, I don't need no counseling. I drink. And so it's almost like the drink was the doctor to help them. But yeah, a lot of people don't believe in that concept of everything in moderation, and so they overdo it. And sometimes your brain tricks you into like you ain't drunk, have another drink, or you have people peers who are just handing you drinks. I can go places now where I don't have to pay for a drink. And I avoid those places because my buddy used to own a bar down the street, a block down. And every time I would go in there and he was in there, oh man, I had to call him for work the next day because he ain't going to let you go. He had the Jameson sitting up there, shouts at this down, what you like to drink? I know you like to drink tequila. So, I haven't seen you in a while. It's a Wednesday night, dude. I got to go to work tomorrow morning. But, it's the peer pressure, it's the marketing, and let's be honest, man. When you're drinking and you're in that zone, you feel good, and you want to keep it. Now it starts to go away. You want to feel a little bit more, so you feel like you got to drink a little more to keep that feeling, keep that kind of like that kind of feeling you have. So I think some people. I think I read this a long time ago when I was in grad school. About 1 in 4 people are susceptible to be addicts. So it's already in your DNA that you have that gene that could, as soon as you start drinking and you get past that point, you can't stop. You need interventions to stop. And other people can be social drinkers or the other 4 categories you came up with. But there are certain people who just have it in their DNA makeup that they have a gene where it could just lead you right into alcoholism or addiction, and you go to hell and back. And that's the way my father described it to me. It's like you go to hell and you come back. And those are the people who make the best counselors to get people off the addiction. The folks who've been there know it. They can see the signs. They can tell when you're drunk. My father can tell somebody when they're high and drunk in a few seconds. One of my cousins, I was down south in December, and he looked at him. I looked at my dad, and he's like, "Yeah, he's with it." He can just pick it up. He could just pick it up. So yeah, some people just don't know or can't handle the concept of everything in moderation.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize. For some reason, the recording tonight is kind of dropping in and out. So we apologize for some of the technical difficulties. But it doesn't stop the show. We're going to keep moving forward and do what we do because what's being said is much more important than what's going on with that. Mr. Charles, they're partying, man, like it's 1999 and last time I checked, 2025. The mentality is like, don't pay attention to, what's going on with the brain. And I'm talking about folks that when I speak of this, I'm not speaking of the folks that might be drinking the Coke. I'm just talking about folks just think that, this is life. I'm living my best life.
Yeah, well, like you said before, in the past, when you're young, that's something that was kind of celebrated because you couldn't wait to get old. I remember being said, "Oh man, I can't wait to go to the bar and be old enough to go to the bar." And you say you want to drink because it was about drinking to a point, but really a lot of it was about the women. Like let's go to the bar. We know the women are going to be there and it's party atmosphere. But some people, I don't think they understand what liquor can do to you, particularly when you're young, because you don't really. I mean, most young people don't care. They just want to go have a party, have a good time. But I think to refer back to DeMaurice's point, I think that's spot on too. Is not saying it's okay to drink or drink all the time or anything, but you have to know what's behind it. You have to understand what the drink does and how it affects you. And you have to understand that anything you do too much is bad for you. Anything. You eat too much, you drink too much, and you do some other things too much, it can be bad for you. And you have to understand how that affects your body. Some people say that if they know they have that addictive personality, like was mentioned before, then they should not indulge at all because they literally cannot help themselves. And I believe that's real because I didn't think for it was at first until I encountered a few people that they said, look, man, I used to get started on something, I just can't stop. It's more of an insatiable type situation. But yeah, but you just have to understand it. But I think most people, we live in a society where people want to turn up because we want to feel good. We work hard, and society teaches us if you work hard, you should turn up. And oftentimes, for a lot of people, because they don't do it any other way, turning up means let's get a drink or a number of drinks, and that's how we're gonna feel good.
Yeah. Moderation, man. Be concerned and care about your body, folks. Please, man. Life is a beautiful thing. Let's have plenty of it. Mr. Charles, gonna grab a question from you, sir, if you have one.
Yeah. Question is, uh, do you? I guess my question is, I'm thinking about some things over the weekend. Uh, How much do you think most people have, if you can, and it's kind of hard to say this, but I'm gonna ask a question if I can bring it out there. And give me a percentage of how many people do you think, particularly adults, believe they're actually in
Do me a
control
favor, man.
of their
Do me
life?
a favor.
Can you hear me?
You're breaking up. If you don't mind, start that over again, man. You're breaking up for a period of that time.
Can you hear me now?
I got you good now, boss.
Okay. So the question is, what's the percentage of adult individuals do you think literally believe they have control of their lives? That they not so much your destiny, what's going to happen to you, but they can make decisions where they have control of what they can do in their lives.
You were asking for a percentage.
Yes.
Okay. Um. Hmm. Ooh, yeah. I. Wow. I'm gonna say. Whoo, whoo, whoo. I don't, I don't know. I'm gonna go neutral on 50% of this bit for that because I've always looked at people in general that they want people to kind of tell them what to do, how to do it, when to do it, and not because they want to be told. It's because they want to be able to blame somebody if what happens don't work out right. They don't want to take the accountability for themselves. So they'd rather lean on someone else, man. It could be their significant other, it could be their partner. A lot of people are living their life based on what their mommy and daddy kind of basically laid out to them, haven't, rolled out on their own. So I would say 50% because I don't think people can understand are willing to accept if they chose to do some things out of their own thought process and it didn't work out, can they accept it cleanly? So I think they kind of buy into other little pockets of not really controlling their own destiny and they settle in a sense. Your response, Mr. DeMaurice?
I'm hope I'm answering this question correctly because my thing is I think 75 to 80% of the people think they are in control, but the 20 to 25% know that you can put your best foot forward. You can do a lot of things. You can, do all the right things. But when it's all said and done, you're not in control. It's the creator's show. And so I think some people are they're disillusioned thinking that they are in control of everything and they got everything under control and they got everything covered and all that other stuff. But no, 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 you don't. You can't even control your breathing. If the creator decided, you know what, this my gift is, I'm taking my gift back and you have to come home, that's it. You have no control of that. So I think about 75 to 80% of people think they're in control of everything they do in their life. And when it all comes down to it, no, you're not in control. There is a higher power and higher things that are kind of controlling things. And you can do the best you can to try to control the things you can control. But ultimately, we're not in control.
Hmm. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Charles, I think we got two versions answered to your question because you probably didn't hear it clearly.
Yeah,
But
probably.
but your response to it, Walls.
Yeah, no, I understand both answers. I think I understand where Don's come from and about people thinking about them being in control, but they're not. Um, I think for me, I think it's like 60% people believe they're in control. Now, some people might just be talking, but I'm talking about really thinking they're in control. And it's not so much saying that they are, but I think they believe they have it. And now some people may tell you, you ask them that question, I believe they will say, yeah, I got everything under control. But when they go home, they go, man, what in the am I doing?
Yep. Yep.
Because you got to be honest with yourself. And if you're delusional enough to believe when you know your life is spiraling out of control that you have it under control, something's wrong. Something is very wrong. But I think it's 60%. Now I didn't really get into whether or not they are I think we all believe that, for me anyway, that there is a creator and he does have ultimate control. But I'm just saying, as far as the people and whether or not they actually believe they can make a difference or control what happens in their life.
Yeah. I want to take a show soon and do based on delusional because I think that right there, man, is huge. Delusional, man. It is. It doesn't get talked about enough. If Arthur gets talked about at all. But there's a lot of delusion out there. A lot, man. And yeah, part of the reason why some people could be drinking too. DeMaurice, your
Well,
question, sir.
I thought I had another question, but I thought of this question would be much more fun because when you were talking about Uncle Horace, I always knew when he took some nips, and I didn't know where he was hiding it, but I knew that the attitude changed because he had this high pitched hee laugh, and that would always be a telltale sign that okay, he's taking some nips. So when did you know when you were little, younger, that your pop was taking a few nips? That all of a sudden the alcohol's taking control.
Yeah, I think I was 11 or 12 when I saw him basically, turn the bottle up. And I'm not sure Pride and if I knew. Yeah, I'm gonna say yeah. That's a long time ago, but I'll
So
go
what
with any.
what what kind of changed with his personality that you picked up that okay he's taking a few nips?
After that, being talkative.
Yeah.
Being talkative. Because if my father was not a very talkative person,
No.
but but if he had some juice in him, he would be more talkative. Um, yeah, definitely more talkative. Outside of that, the man didn't say too much, but yeah, if he was talking quite a bit, you kind of knew that. Yeah, he was talking, and basically, yeah, that was it. That was it. Me and more talkative. That was it. Your response, Mr. Charles?
Yeah, I think for me, because my dad was, like I said, it was later in life for me, like when I was a teenager. But my dad, I had a great sense of humor. But when he would start to, when I started to notice, it was probably about maybe about 14. But my dad would take it to another level because he was already a funny dude. But he started messing with people. He had always had to say something smart. I'm like, wait a minute, did you just say that to? And he'd be like, what she say? And then hey, he wouldn't really cuss anybody out, but he damn sure would say something crazy. He'd be like, did he just say that? And I'm like, yeah, what you doing? He like, hey, you heard what I said. That's the problem now. You went home to your husband. You wouldn't have to. I was like, oh Lord, Father, like this guy gonna go. I ain't going no damn where till I'm done. And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, my dad was pretty. He already had a slick tongue, bro. And you add that alcohol, he was like, I said, Dad, what's going on? He like, shit, you can handle it. That's what I told you, right? I was like, damn. Okay, I guess I will. But it's just, yeah, he's slick. But I mean, it's just how it is. Everybody's different. Some people are quiet. Some people laugh a lot. Some people talk crap. Some people say certain things, and some people are just belligerent when they get drunk. So it depends on the individual, I think.
I'll say this real quick, man. I had an uncle, Robbie, my father's brother. Now, Uncle Robbie would not basically you could barely get two words out of him. Uncle Robbie talking a lot. Oh yeah, Uncle Robbie done been on it. And I'm gonna tell you, Jackie Gleason had nothing on Uncle Robbie. Nothing on Uncle Robbie. Nothing, man. Nothing. I just remember real quick. I mean, when I had I hate I ever got him. I had the Jerry curl. Every time he see me, where you got with them Jersey curls? He wouldn't say Jerry curl. He called Jersey curl.
uh,
All right, what's your response to your question, Dave Maurice? Oh my goodness.
yeah. I always knew the party was about to start because my father, when I would look at his face and he had the arching the right arching eyebrow, oh, I knew it. The party had begun right there. The party had begun, and then if you catch him when he was in his zone, he'd be dancing and singing, just dancing and singing, eyes closed. The Teddy Pendergrass turn off the light record that'd be on. I mean, it'd be on repeat, and this was a phonograph. This wasn't the 45. It wasn't the LP. It was the 45 over and over and over and over. And it's like, oh man. But yeah, that's when you knew. And you knew when he went over his limit when he started arguing. That's when, okay, the party's over. Everybody get your coats. It's time to go.
Oh, oh, man. If we can have those moments on videotape right now,
Oh my
bro.
God.
Bro, oh man. Let's bring those moments back on videotape. Gentlemen, well, thank you for always doing what you guys always do, bringing strong. That's what we do when Black Men Talk. Once again, we apologize for the technical spots of this show. We'll find a way to get it cleared up for next week. And we get back together in 6, 7 days. You know, God loves you. We love you also. Take good care of yourself.